warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, everyone. May I introduce myself first? My name is Aulia Shabrina Putri. The student's number is S400190002. Okay, today I would like to deliver about my presentation entitled about the formal semantics by Max Creswell. Here, I would like to explain about several topics in this time of the presentation. The first one is about why formal semantics, and then the second is a simple fragment, and then the third is categorical languages, and then tense and aspect, and then indicate and variables, indicate or variables, and then propositional attitudes and situation semantics. In the end of this presentation, I would like to make a conclusion about the about the definition in the formal semantic itself. The first one about why formal semantics. We have found about the discussion based on the Wittgenstein in the year 1953. We find a discussion of a very simple language. It consists of the four words. They are plug, slab, beam, and pillar. And what is the function of them? When not plugged, so here is the explanation. So we can understand. When not plugged is called the assistance brings a pillar. So doesn't plug mean the same as pillar? Well, maybe until we see that the next time the builder calls not plug, the assistant brings a beam, and the third time a slab. So how can we specify the meaning of the not that may provide evidence of disobedience, but only evidence. Although semantic facts depend on behavioral facts about language users, the nature of the dependence may be too complicated to form part of semantic theory. We can give an analysis of what behavioral facts constitute the facts that sentences have the truth condition they do. It is undeniable that there are such facts. For example, like here, I put the sentence here. You point to a table and after the sentence, there is a pen on the table. It means that you don't need to know English to know the difference between the situation in which there is a pen and the situation in which there is not. But you do need to know English to know the difference is related with the truth or falsity. So in the another example, for example, like I state that Aulia is a teacher. Uh, and also the statement that state about Aulia is not a teacher. Both of sentence is true because sentence X it means yay. Sentence X it means the meaning of the sentence X is Y. And beside, if the sentence is not X, it means that it doesn't become Y, something like that. And then the second example, you will be here tomorrow. It can be uttered as a prediction or a question or an order. It depends on the intention of the speakers and depends on the speaker's meaning. Yeah? And then the third is not if A is true if A is false and false if A is true. It must be specified by what time is referred to understand about is it true or false statement. So it must be specified by what time is referred to. Next, there was a pen on the table yesterday. It's true, we need to know not just whether the given pen is on the given table and the given time. But we have to know, is it true if there is a pen on the table yesterday? So we have to make sure, yeah, as the speaker or the listener. So we don't just adapt the sentence just like this, just about the structure, about the given pen is on the given depot and then given at that time, for example. But we need to know the reality. Is it true if there was a pen on the table yesterday? And also it's true at some other time to be specific at a time on the day previous to the time at which it's claimed to be true. Next, there might have been a pen on the table. In this statement, we need to know not whether it's true as things actually stand, but it's true in the actual word. But whether would have been true if the word had been different in certain ways. For example, like true in this or that other possible word. And then the next, I would like to explain about a simple fragment. A simple fragment is about how to apply to conditional semantics to a natural language. It is customary to use formally presented fragments. For examples like every author shouts. We can divide it, analyzes the structure of the sentence become every as the determiner and then author as the common noun, and then every author combined become one as a noun phrase, and then we have shouts here as a verb phrase. Then every author shouts, it becomes one as a sentence. And then the sentence here, it can be syntactically form become a tree, like what I showed in the presentation in my PowerPoint. In the sentence, we have divided into two, yeah, noun phrase and then the verb phrase. While in the noun phrase, we can break it into two terms between the determiner and the common noun. While determiner is every and then the common noun is author. And how about the verb phrase? The verb phrase here in the sentences is shouts. The next material is about categorical languages. There is another approach in which the syntactic structure looks more like the languages of predicate logic. For example, like most authors shout. It means that natural language determines are better understood as two-place operators. This can be combined with a more general approach to variable binding using what is called abstraction. And then the next is about tense and aspect. In the tense logic, a key operator is the past tense operator. For any sentence, a whose truth or falsity requires only an index on the form, W and T, where W here is a word and T is a time. For example, like Einstein lived in a Princeton is true. We can differ with the second statement. Einstein has lived in Princeton is false. Why is it false? Because on the ground, Einstein is no longer exists. So based on the W and T aspect in the tense and aspect here, Einstein lived in Princeton is true because it stated the past, what's happening in the past. While Einstein has lived in Princeton is false, he stated that Einstein right now is still alive and still live in Princeton. It's false because on the ground that Einstein is no longer exists. So looking from the W and T in the tense and aspect, it can be classified as a true and false sentences. And then the next about the indicators or variables. Some authors will put the time index into the syntax so that yesterday becomes a quantifier. Sorry. For example, yesterday shout Brazil. Yeah. Yesterday here shout Brazil. Yesterday here meaning at the time. Yeah. It refers to the time. Where T is the variable and shout becomes a two-place predicate in which the second argument place is filled by a time variable. In general, there is a two-way thread between expressing this kind of dependence by a semantical index or by means of explicit variables. The next material is about prepositional attitudes and situation semantics. This chapter has concentrated on the truth conditional account of semantics. In the meaning of a sentence is the set of indices at which it is true, we have the consequence that all sentences which are true at the same set of indices have the same meaning. So this chapter focuses on the one or two or some statements that have the same meaning and the same set of indices. And then the kind of indices that have been used in classical truth conditional semantics are complete in the sense of deciding every sentence. For examples like Sebastian shouts. Sebastian shot here, it can be analyzed as a would not be the set of indicates at which Sebastian shot, but would be something like a situation. So it's based on the situation. We can look from the context. While the second examples here, we have shout, Sebastian, I, and yes, so we have two what is it? Two people, yeah, between I and Sebastian. And it can be analyzed as the in which shout is the relation of shouting which holds between Sebastian and the location at which he shouts. So it appears, yeah, it appears the situation, the relation of the shouting which holds between Sebastian and the location at which he shouts, the location at why he shouts. It has the appearance of being an expression at the level of logical form. And that may be a good way to view it provided that we realize that the connection between shout and shouting is not conventional. And in some sense, shout is shouting. So it's also based on the context here. Here is the conclusion from the presentation about the formal semantics. I can define about the formal semantics, yeah, based on the expert. Formal semantics is about the meaning of syntactically complex expressions. Literally means using formal methods for the study of meaning. The semantics is the study of the meaning, but the formal semantics is using formal methods for the study of meaning. So it's different here. Even it is still has relation, but it is different in the basic. Nowadays, there is also formal lexical semantics and discourse semantics, but the identification formal semantics is same or equal with formal sentence semantics. Here are the principles of formal semantics. The first, the principle of compositionality is the meaning of an expression is uniquely determined by the meanings of its parts and their mode of combination. Then we can conclude that about the meaning of the statement or the meaning of the expression is uniquely determined or depend by the meanings of its part and their mode of combination based on its part in the expression or the structure of the speaker. That's based on the phrase principle. And then the second is about substitution principle. Substitution principle here is focused on synonymous parts, may be substitute for each other without changing the meaning of the complex expression in which they occur. For more clearer, I would like to give some examples here. The first one about the compositionality and about the substitution principle. In the compositionality, we have two statements here. The first one is Tom is asleep. And then the second is everyone who is identical with Tom is asleep. The synonymy of the noun phrase between Tom and everyone who is identical with Tom, we may conclude that point A and point B, or step A and statement B, must have the same meaning. So here is the focus what we learned in the formal semantics. Yeah. Not about the what is the meaning behind the speakers. That's different, yeah. That's including as the semantics. But in the formal semantics, we have to learn about how can two statements or more can have the same meaning in the same set at a time. Okay, that's all about my presentation. If I have any obstacles or maybe plus and minus inside delivering my presentation, I do apologize and thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.